everyone. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I'm here today with a really fun dyeing project. Some of you have watched my snow dyeing videos and thought, this looks like a lot of fun, but I don't have any snow. So today we are going to do some ice dyeing using KoolAid food coloring and ice cubes. So as long as you have a freezer, you can try this technique at any time of the year. In my bathtub, we have a Knit Pick Stroll blank that is made out of 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this is a double knit blank, so there are two strands of the fingering weight yarn knit together. That means that no matter how random of a pattern we get from this ice dyeing, when we unravel the blank, we will get two identical 50-gram skeins of yarn. I have placed the blank on top of these wire cooling racks so that way the melting water can drip through and we won't have the blank sort of sitting in a pile of melted water. I have a whole basin full of ice and now we can start adding it on top of the blank. So I don't know entirely what to expect here, but my guess is that as we add dye on top of the ice, some of it will flow around the ice cubes. And we might end up with some resist from where the ice cubes lay on the because, you know, where the ice cube is sitting on the blank, it might prevent dye from being in that spot. So maybe we'll end up seeing some shapes on the blank itself. But I don't really know, I've never tried this. I am attempting to spread out these ice cubes as much as possible, doing sort of one layer first, and then I'll add more if I have more to lay. I might run a little low, I don't know. I did pre-soak the blank, and you can see that the ice cubes are sort of sticking to the yarn. I pre-soaked the blank in just plain tap water. Since we will be using some KoolAid, and that has citric acid in it, that should be sufficient acid to help the food coloring bind to the yarn. Now, if I had not blocked this blank as wide, I might have been able to make this ice go a little further. But as you can see, it looks like that our melting ice might contribute to the patterns that we will get. But I definitely do not have 100% coverage. I do have some shaved pieces that you go ahead and add, but that was okay, it doesn't say what the volume is, but one of these dish basins full of ice on top of our blank. When it comes to adding the color, I'm going to start off by adding 5 packets of lemonade KoolAid over the surface of my ice. And as I said, this will give us the citric acid that we need so that the other food coloring I add can bind to our yarn. And so you can kind of see that some of the powder is already going through the ice and onto the blank itself, while some of the rest is staying on top of the ice. And I'm sort of aiming for some nice all over coverage. That's number 3. or you can see slowly it's starting to get wet, which is making the color darken. All right. Okay, there we go. That is our yellow base. Now, in addition to the KoolAid, I'm going to be using a variety of McCormick's food coloring in both the neon colors and some yellow and some red. So I'm going to start by adding some drops of yellow food coloring sort of down the center. You can see that I was attempting to add it on top of some of these ice cubes to sort of allow it to drip down. And now I'm going to add, hopefully I didn't just wipe yellow food coloring on my face, some other colors. Let's do, whoops. Five drops of red. Here's some neon green. Good, it's 7 drops. Some neon blue. The way those colors are spreading out, that's pretty cool. This is some neon pink. Kind of one up there. Let it drip, drip, drip. Do have some neon purple. I'm not really sure how that will mix with the yellow. But it could look cool. Whoa, look when you add the drops onto the ice. Let's check out this blue one. That just looks really, really cool. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add some green up here as well. Yeah, and maybe I want to go ahead and add a couple more yellow drops just sort of in between some of these colors, a little at the top and bottom. And hopefully I have managed not to color my feet in the process. I honestly do not know how much any of these colors will spread out, but I hope that we will end up with something that looks really, really cool. It is nighttime now, so I'm expecting this to take overnight for everything to melt. And then in the morning, we will heat up this blank to help set the color. We are about an hour in, and this is starting to look really cool. It looks like a lot of the food coloring drops have now melted and are on the blank versus being still on top of the ice cubes. I think it's interesting how orange the yellow food coloring drops are reading on the blank. And I sort of look forward to seeing how this translates later on. It looks like with the purple in that back corner, we might be seeing some breaking. I see some bluer sections and some redder sections. So that, I think, will be really, really cool. It's been 3 hours, and yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how different right now this looks compared to if I had just sprinkled KoolAid and then maybe done some splotches of color with some drops of food coloring. I guess things have, like the blues have spread further than they would have if I just put a drop of food coloring directly onto the blank. But I am curious to see what kind of white patches we have versus the pale yellow, but it's hard to see what is underneath the ice at this point. I think that, this was how many trayfuls? Many, many trayfuls of ice of what I put on, and probably could have used some more, but I'm sort of excited to see what it looks like once all of the ice has melted. It has been 11 hours since we first added the ice, KoolAid, and food coloring to our blank. And the results are actually pretty interesting. This sort of reminds me of an impressionistic sort of flower pattern in the way that these colors are sort of in splotches. You can sort of see some evidence of where the ice was located. In some of the green patches in the lower corner, you can see a more yellow center surrounded by the green, which is really cool looking. Given the vibrancy from the food coloring, it's a little harder to see the mottled variation from the lemonade on the background. But I do see some really cool patches of color from where it sort of melted onto the fabric. I had some requests to do some more yellow type yarn, which is why I picked lemonade, but it is a little bit underwhelmed by the vibrancy of the pure drops of food coloring. I just laid plastic wrap on top of the blank, and now I am going to roll this up into a jelly roll and hope that I don't change the color of my fingers too much. In one of our basins, we have very, very pale water with almost no color at all. In the other, we see some yellow and orange that dripped through. But this could be from some of the yellow food coloring that made it onto ice cubes that were near the edge. I think that just about all the rest of the color made it onto the yarn. Anything that dripped over the edge sort of dripped out. There's a tiny bit of blue that I had seen puddled beneath. But overall, this is significantly less color than I've seen from some of our other snow dyeing experiments. And I think that's because we were able to add the dye mostly on top of the yarn itself. I have placed the yarn into a microwave safe bowl, and I'm now going to go microwave this on high in 2-minute increments for a total of 4 minutes. We are done microwaving and our blank is nice and hot to touch. And now we need to let it cool completely before we rinse out any excess dye. This might come as a surprise to you, but I did not save the little bit of dye that came through from this experiment. I know I normally love to, but this was a tiny, tiny amount, and so therefore it just did not seem worth it in this case. We are ready to wash our ice dyed yarn. I want to see if you can see better now. See these patches of yellow and white that we have in these sections? I think this is from the way that the KoolAid mixed as it was melting, or even the way that the powder directly hit the fiber around the ice cubes. So all of these brighter colors are on this base of this mottled yellow that you see here. And I think that that's super, super cool. Ooh. Check that out. That could have been from when I wrapped it. I'll have to go back and look and see the pictures at the beginning. That water is clear. I did see some breaking in this area, so I'm not sure if that blue right there is from breaking or if it grabbed some of the dye when I folded it up from the blue section. But actually, probably not, because of the blues all the way on the other side. But I love that because of the where the yellow is placed randomly, we have hints of teal in there. And ooh, the reds and the pinks, it's just all so pretty. Oops. I almost overflowed that. I got so excited looking at my blank. All right, I'm now gonna add some clear liquid dish soap to the bath to help rinse out, you know, the flavoring and anything else. The soap can also help dislodge any unbound dye. But as you could see, you know, maybe there's the palest hint of yellow in there, but basically the water is clear. So I will rinse this blank a couple more times and then hang it up to dry so we can unravel it. These colors are awesome. The splotches of color sort of remind me of flowers, and I really can't wait to see what it'll look like when we unravel this blank. I am going to unravel the blank in a live stream, but I wanted to give a little close-up first so you could see some of these some of this negative space that was left from where the ice cubes lay, and these paler yellow sections that came from the lemonade KoolAid dissolving and sort of melting onto the fiber. I think that the liquid food coloring really overpowered the lemonade, but I love that you can sort of see it in these little hints of yellow over this blank, and I think it'll be really pretty when we unravel it. We got really nice color penetration through the blank, so I think that, you know, we will have some pretty nice solid sections, but there is also definitely a lot of negative space, so I look forward to seeing how much of this turns into some really vibrant speckling. This yarn is beautiful. The colors are bright, and we've got splotches and speckles of all of these really bright, almost neon colors. The gradients on these two 50-gram skeins of stroll fingering weight yarn are identical. We start with, there's these bright sort of orange patches throughout that come from the yellow food coloring. I know that yellow number 5 can be used when it's really concentrated as orange, and in fact I believe that Wilton's orange food coloring only contains yellow number 5. So it's cool that we got such a deep, rich tone, and I'm really excited to play more with this plain yellow food coloring, to be honest. There is some subtle breaking in the purple section. We have some spots that read a little blue and more pink from the McCormick's neon purple. Now I need to, well, I was almost going to say set the twist, but it's sort of the opposite. I want to relax the crimp that is in this yarn, and I'm going to do that by washing, not really washing, just sort of wetting the yarn with some cool water and letting it dry while it is on the niddy noddy. Since the yarn blank was effectively blocked by the dyeing process, the yarn itself is rather crimped. And so by wetting it and allowing it to relax, it lets the fibers smooth out a bit, so that way you don't risk as many tangles once we take the yarn off of the niddy noddy. Now alternatively, you could use some hooks or some weights to help the crimp relax, so you don't need to leave it on the niddy noddy necessarily. But since I have two, it isn't really that big of a deal for me to wait to use a niddy noddy for the yarn to dry on, because I have another one. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I had a blast dyeing this sock blank with ice cubes, KoolAid, and food coloring. I think that I would like to try this technique again with another sock blank using only KoolAid or powdered food coloring to see if we get more resist from where the ice cubes lay on the fabric. Please subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel if you want to see more fun yarn dyeing videos like this one. This week we have a lot of sock blank dyeing videos coming out, live streams and pre-filmed videos, and you really don't want to miss any of them. Thanks for watching!